Cool. Okay, everyone, welcome today to the Good Company Way. So the Good Company Way is a meetup where we talk to experts and we talk to people in business around about what a good company is. We're thinking about sustainability. We're thinking about the future. We're thinking about how we can have good companies that are also innovative, forward-thinking. And you might have heard of things like ESG as well. So how are we good for the environment? How are we good for social and people? And also how are we good in terms of governance and fairness and equity and things. And when we set up this meetup, one of the first persons that I contacted was my friend Celia. Celia and I worked together about 14 years ago in the National Health Service, and we went completely different ways. I went off into finance, and Celia went into the Wellbeing Farm eventually, which was a fascinating journey, and I've watched it from a distance. So part of the joy of having Celia today is that I can catch up with her story and things. How I'd like to start, Celia, is if you could introduce yourself and then tell us a little bit around about Wellbeing Farm and what you're doing there and what you do and what people can do if they do come to the farm and things like that. That'd be interesting. So tell us about your business as well.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Scott. So, and as again, delighted to be able to catch up today and really looking forward to our chat. So, I'm the founder and chief exec of the Wellbeing Farm. It's been established for about 10 years. I originally set the farm up from a background of kind of work-related stress and burnout and decided to do something different, completely different with my life. And my partner had a rundown farm and I decided to transform it. And that farm has been going for 10 years, and we've achieved multiple awards in all sorts of different areas, but predominantly around the weddings and events. We also run corporate events. So it's corporate events, weddings. And in 2023, I became one of the first venues in the world to become a B-Corp certified venue. And then that journey into sustainability and the B-Corp movement has just carried on, and the principles of B-Corp and ESG and everything are firmly embedded in the farm. And that's it now. So we're now become a venue which is one of the most sustainable venues in the country. And we're known more for our sustainability work than anything else, I suppose. Even our bow tie wearing llamas is competing with that. So there you go. Oh, I can't hear you.
I know I muted myself. Sorry.
That's all right. Don't
Where?
worry.
It's okay. Whereabout is the farm? Just
Oh,
for
sorry. That
people
the
listening.
farm is in Lancashire, in between Bolton and Blackburn, so Lancashire way. If anybody knows it, near Manchester, outside
Yeah.
Manchester. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So you've really done the entrepreneur journey. You've done the B Corp journey. We'll get into a little bit of that in a bit. The other thing you've done, which I love, is the regeneration part. So you've taken a farm that you said was a little bit run down and you've
Mm-hmm.
turned it around. So what I want
Yeah.
you to do is I want you to go back to that
Yeah.
moment. When you were thinking about doing this, that must have been scary. Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, complete. I mean, I came in with virtually, I mean, I'd bought my own house and done a bit of decorating. That had been it. I had never had any experience of whatsoever in overseeing any building project or anything like this. And the next thing I am from almost like it was a bit of a very kind of I'm just going to do this. It wasn't a pre-planned that I'd ever planned to do this over years. My ultimate dream was never to own my own venue or anything like this. This was just circumstances that led me to go and question what do I want to get out of my life? What do I want to do? And so I had to take this massive plunge. As I said, the partner had a rundown farm, and I just said, could I turn it into something? That something wasn't even that well defined at the time. I just thought I just needed to create this sort of something with the farm. Oh, you've got the details, thank you. And I ended up transforming the venue. I literally knocked it down and rebuilt the entire farm. I had to install a wind turbine and a water treatment plant, and I mean, where you're seeing now, the farm looked nothing like that before. It was a complete wreck. And I had never dealt with plumbers, builders, electricians, You know, I mean, it was the equivalent of climbing Everest. I learned everything as I went on to go and do this. And then, yeah, 10 years later, finally, I mean, I've been through ups and downs. I was nearly bankrupt at one point. I made so many mistakes that I ended up writing them all into a book because I thought I don't want anybody else to go through this. I really did learn on the job with this from a real sort of starting point of absolutely almost zero experience of doing anything like this. So yeah, it was real plunge.
Yeah. So, but you had a business background because when I met you, you were, I
Yeah.
think you were you're running a program that was, and it was an innovation program. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, so we were doing a sort of transformation program, and I mean I'd come from, but my whole background had been in the NHS. That had been the
Mm.
bulk of my background, and I suppose when you're in the NHS, it cushions you. I mean, when I set up a business and somebody came to me and said about that, I was like, what? And I said, and similarly business rates. This man turns up, starts measuring everything. I said, what on earth are you on? What are you doing? And he goes, I'm measuring it, you know, measuring the buildings for business rates. I was like, what on earth is business rates? You know, I really had a very real sort of NHS tunnel vision. I remember
Got you.
coming out of the NHS and paying my first member of staff 30,000 to look after llamas. I had complete ignorance when it came to running a business, complete ignorance. And I really did have to learn the hard way.
Okay. So why sustainability? Why not go into something different? What was the call? What was your call to purpose there?
So when I built the farm, there was no gas on the farm, so I needed a way of powering it. There was electricity was there, but nothing else. And so I went through the whole spectrum of renewables: air source heat pump, ground source heat pump, the whole solar panels, the whole lot. But the farm was located 800 feet above sea level. And at the time, there was in the village an Edgeworth against wind turbines campaign going on. There were literally placards in the local shop. My partner owned the local shop. They'd owned it for over 100 years. And they were worried about having me having a turbine because they thought everyone would sort of boycott the shop and not go to that. But the turbine, after all this investigations, turned out to be the best solution. We were 800 feet above sea level, and the
Mm.
turbine was like the perfect location. So I set about getting planning permission and everything for a turbine, which was a really challenging thing because we were going against a background of no turbines, you know, no turbines allowed. So it was not only the public that you had to kind of sway to have a turbine, but obviously the planners and everything else that you had to do. But having kind of already competed against the planners around the planning permission for the farm. And when I first did the farm, it was a point of complete rejection. Like, we will not let you turn that farm into a business. And I had to, Jeremy Clarkson had nothing on the battles that I went through to get that farm through, I can tell you. And so the reason I'm talking about this is because when the farm was built and it opened, we had this whacking big great turbine above the farm, which became this symbol of sustainability. It was almost like permanently there, this turbine. Every photograph, there was this turbine above it, which almost meant that it was almost for me going, oh my goodness, I have to run a sustainable business. And so 10 years ago, people weren't really talking about sustainability like they are now. And
Definitely,
they were
definitely. Yeah.
starting to talk about wind turbines. I mean, I was really lucky and got a great feed-in tariff rate on that turbine, the likes of what are unheard of now. And so it just everything became about sustainability. And I was lucky at the time because there was somebody in the NHS who had a son who had just graduated called James in environmental kind of eco thing. He had a
Wow.
real passion for eco green things, and she said James can come and help you. And at the time I went, oh fantastic, yeah, just get him to come and help me, just help with the setting up of the farm. But it turned out that he came along with this green credentials and he helped me set up, because I didn't have any knowledge whatsoever about the green, the eco stuff and the green stuff. I kind of, so it was great that the two came together, and then that set off this 10-year journey into sustainability, of which has never gone away. And I suppose you start the journey, you become more and more passionate with it. It's like you start it and you go, what else can I do? What else can I do? And you start literally looking through a lens of sustainability for every single bit of your business. For us, the sustainability becomes like the sustainability is not just like a few recycling bins in a corner and a bit of a sort of recycle your towels type thing. The sustainability for us is the bedrock which underpins the entire business, and every single thing is looked through a sustainability lens, everything. And so, and for me, it's like this really is where sustainability has to move to, because it's such a wide-reaching area, and it's not just sustainability for, as in green and eco. It's also sustainability as in your community focus, your staff focus, your staff well-being focus, and it becomes the lens of through everything that is for your business.
Yeah, you've also got a sustainable income there, and you've got and you're supporting people, so you kind of create a little economy around about the farm that probably wasn't there before as well. So you've created prosperity. Yeah.
I mean, the knock-on effects of having something like a farm, we're on about 96 weddings a year. And when you have 96 times 130 people coming to an area who all want accommodation, they all want to use the shops, they all want to use the pubs, they want to use the taxi services, etc., etc. You are literally creating employment opportunities. You become quite a big employer. You are, from everything that you do, and from a small village that didn't have many people to, near on, you're dealing with 10,000 people coming through the doors. It's a big thing.
So they don't care about the turbine anymore.
Well, the turbines for me has been. I mean, I don't think I would have done all this without that turbine. And although it's been a real hassle, we got a turbine that the model wasn't very good at the end, and we had no. I mean, I remember during COVID, when we were effectively shut as a venue, the turbine broke down, and I faced a £35,000 repair bill on top of being closed during COVID. It was horrendous. But that turbine for me has just been the symbol that now, I mean, our business is growing and growing because of that turbine, because of the sustainability focus. And when you read about a lot of hospitality businesses struggling at the moment, we're seeing the opposite. We're seing the opposite.
Okay, I'm going to take you forward there a little bit. Let's go to the B-Corp. Let's talk about B-Corp. And you're obviously a B-Corp advocate. Many people might not know who a B-Corp is, especially we've got lots of people in Africa and places that watch. So
right.
So assuming you don't know much about it, or even like the UK, do you want to explain a little bit about what that meant, what the business decisions were, what the pros and cons were? Yeah.
So the B Corp stands for Benefit Corporation. It's basically a movement where it's a worldwide movement. There's about 5,000, probably about 7,000 B Corps as are known. It's benefit corporations, but B Corps for short. And there's about 7,000 across the world. There's 1,700 in the UK. So it's really growing. The UK is really becoming it started off in America, but to be honest, the UK is really outperforming every country in terms of the uptake of B Corp, and it's very much around. When I left the NHS to set up a business, for me it was almost like, is that all you do as a business? You make a profit and you give the money to shareholders, and that's it. And for me, coming from the health service as a background, it just seemed that it just didn't seem enough. For me, I needed to do something more. I needed something which was a bit more purposeful. And so I only discovered, and I was a bit fed up with this, because I discovered the B Corp during lockdown. I literally heard about it from Brewdog of all people, and they just said, we've just become a B Corp. And I was like, what on earth is that? And I was fed up because I've been doing this sustainability work for ages and never come across the concept of B Corp. So when I found it, for me, that sort of triple focus around, you have your B Corp, but it's you have to do a certain amount for the planet, a certain amount for your people, certain amount for the community. You can't become a B Corp unless you score a certain amount. It's independently certified. You can't buy it. You have to do the work. They're very, very rigorous. If you don't pass the independent certification, and they absolutely want to see everything. I mean, for me, we were on a farm, we had our own butchers, they wanted to see the animal records, they want to see the farm records, they want to see all my payroll records, they wanted to see where all the suppliers were located, where we were purchasing everything from. They wanted to see any disability records of the staff. They wanted to see any weed killer or anything that we were using on the farm. They wanted to see the animal care records, the animal feed records. It's a very rigorous. I loved the fact that it was so rigorous, because for me, they don't just. This is why a lot of people, when you become a B Corp, it's a real celebration, because everybody knows how tough it is to become a B Corp. And that's why I feel that when you do become a B Corp, it's like a symbol of a good business. And all of the B Corps trade or do business where you can with other B Corps, and it becomes like a real amazing community. It's a real collaborative. I don't sense any competition in there. I just feel this masses of collaboration that go on with this B Corp movement in there. For me, it's been fantastic. I absolutely love it.
Any downsides or?
It's just when you're first there, it's very overfacing. There's something like 300 questions, and you go on and you go, how on earth will I ever do that? But to be honest, it's all the things that you really should be doing as a business anyway. You should be monitoring your water consumption. You should be monitoring your electricity. You should be monitoring you should be checking where your suppliers come from. You should be getting good payroll. Really, you should be paying your staff at least the living wage, if not the real living wage. You should have some sort of staff well-being plan in place. You should have, and it goes on and on and on. And to be honest, but it's rigorous in terms of collecting the data, and then it requires year-on-year improvement. You have to publish your impact assessments, very transparent. And then when you've published that, you have to be showing that you're making this year-on-year improvement. You don't just get the B Corp and then kind of, I've achieved B Corp. They will throw you out if you're not doing year-on-year improvements. And if they find anything suspect going on, like they did with Brewdog, they will exit you from B Corp. Publicly exit you. So to be honest, it's the right things that you should be doing as a business. It's just a lot of people just don't really like all the paperwork and bureaucracy. But when you've done that, you've got it all together. It's not something that you instantly become overnight. It's going to take you a good 12 months to become one, to be honest. Maybe even longer if you've not kept any of the records and things.
Yeah. Benefits of being a B Corp. Is there any business benefits you get?
So you get this symbol on, you have a plaque which you can put onto your business. So ours is a physical business, so we've got plaques on the wall. I have a flag, we have it on the flag, we have it under our logo. It's all over our website. The point is, it becomes a symbol of trust. There's a lot of mistrust a lot at the moment. There are lots of companies claiming they do this, claiming to do that, a lot of greenwashing going on. Yeah. And when you've got that B, it's now not enough people know about the B at the moment, but B Corp have said there's a lot of products like Ben and Jerry's, Body Shop, Patagonia. There's lots and lots of companies with the B Corp. And they're going to start putting that, like innocent smoothies, they're going to start putting that B on their products. Now, when people go and see these Bs, like if you go on Waitrose now, Waitrose have a B Corp section. Asda are looking at having a B Corp section. WH Smiths are looking at a B Corp section. Where you think
that's
about
a good idea.
When you think about where we were with gluten-free started off as just one little shelf, probably half a shelf in a supermarket.
I remember.
Tiny section at the end. And now the gluten-free aisles and the free from take over nearly whole aisles in supermarkets, whole sections. And so I can see this growing. And I mean, in terms of my business, we've had couples coming up from London to get married at the farm because we're the only wedding venue which is B-Corp status. We've had companies flying over, which I don't think is very sustainable, from Dublin
Yes.
to come to the farm for corporate events. We certainly, and we are certainly achieving overwhelming levels of inquiries, to the point where I've had to recruit 3 more people to help me manage the inquiries, because if anything, we've been a victim of our own success, because I can't recruit people quick enough because I can't deal with all the inquiries that we're getting. And we've not done anything different except this B Corp. I think I've just been lucky because, you know, when COVID hit, yes, COVID hit was terrible, but when COVID came to an end, the well-being, everybody was into well-being, and I was called the Wellbeing Farm. So naturally, everybody was crying. And then when the Ukraine war hit and with sustainability, we had this turbine and it was all sustainable. And people were then, right, okay, we've got well-being tick, we've got sustainability tick, you know. So it's just all happened in circumstances to all kind of come together.
I think there's. I wouldn't just. I wouldn't put it that way. I think you've had a definite strategy here. I think you've had. I think you've taken an ethical stance, and the ethical stance is yeah. I think people have caught up with you. That's why I'm going to put it that way. Yeah.
Oh well, but again, I mean, again, we are inundated with recruitment. You know, we put a post out. Before becoming a B Corp, we get about 20 applicants. We're now at 75, 80 per job. Now, when in a context where you see people can't recruit in hospitality, for me, this is amazing. For me, a lot of hospitality businesses complain that we haven't got customers, we haven't got staff, blah, 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 finding it really difficult. Well, you know, we're bucking the trend with that, because we are seeing the exact opposite. And I just put that down to the B Corp and this focus on sustainability and purpose.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. Absolutely adore it. Okay. All right, let's go differently. Let's go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Let's go to somewhere else. Let's talk about the book. So how hard was it writing your book, and what have you found from writing the book? Are you getting more speaking offers, or what
Yeah,
about the
well,
book?
do you know what? The book was a bit disappointing, I've got to be honest, because I wrote this book and had this big book launch, and then COVID hit for 2 years, and I couldn't do anything with the book. It was like, you know, I was all set up, we were going to do this, then it all hit. Then I'll be honest, it all came about, to be honest, as an owner in the wedding industry at a time of COVID, it was all about saving your business. It was all about getting your head down, forget promoting a book. You know, promoting a book was not on the absolute sort of survival kit of a business which employed all these staff, and in the middle of where you were really restricted to 15 people, and 15 people in a venue like mine would have just been ridiculous, you know. So it was really hard. So then then we came out of COVID, and it was all about sort of growing. You had to completely start again from scratch almost. And so so I wrote the book originally because, as I said, I've made so many mistakes. I didn't want anybody to make my mistakes. They caused me a lot of stress, a lot of upset, a lot of expense. And I thought, if there's any good that I can do, is to write this book with all my problems in, all the mistakes, and let someone else pick it up. And at the time when I transformed this farm, there was literally nothing around. There wasn't anything that told me how to do it. There wasn't anything that said, this is how you get planning permission. There wasn't anything that told me about, as I said, about business rates or VAT or all this sort of stuff. So I just put it all, I literally locked myself in a hotel and I wrote the book, the first draft, in 4 days.
Wow.
It was 4 very, very, very long days. It was, it really was. But yeah, and I was lucky. I got to work with a book publisher. It wasn't a self-published book. It was with a proper book publisher. And to be honest, it's a legacy. I've devoted the book to my son, who I started this journey when he was a baby, and now he's 15. And do you know what I mean? It's there you go, and you can see it's very cheap at the moment. Used edition, £1.63.
Well, I always buy second-hand books just for the circular
Yeah,
economy.
no, so it's
Yeah,
very cheap there.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I couldn't resist that. I couldn't resist that bargain. Yeah. Okay, so the book, very good ratings there. So it must
Well,
be
I
a good
don't know.
book.
I don't know what that 3 stars there. I never look at these things. So I have no idea. So I'm like, oh right.
Let's have a little review. This book is brilliant. I've read the whole thing in one go. It's easy to get through and read, really resonating with me. Book tells of Celia's business startup and includes lots of advice on how to avoid mistakes and build a successful business. It's very honestly written. Celia's very amazing, brave woman. Celia's business is a farm diversification into wedding business. My business is a farm diversification into florist, but I still learned so much. There you go. You're inspiring people.
Oh well, it's kind of, and you know what? This is what you ultimately set out to do when you have a business, isn't it? You kind of, for me, it was so much more than just opening a farm and running a business. I kind of wanted to, for me, a legacy is big thing for me. Doing something, leaving something behind, making the most of your life. These are big things that has always rated with me. So if this can come a little bit way of doing that. And I was very proud. It was shortlisted in the
It was
National Business Book
shortlisted. Yeah,
Awards.
I'm seeing
I
that.
know
Yeah.
it was. I was
Look
up
at
against
look at you.
I was up against the founder of the Trunky, the founder of Just Eat, and the founder of um Pictionary, the game Pictionary,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
the person who for women developed the scrunchie, which is like an all-time.
yeah.
Every single woman has a scrunchie in the drawer. Every woman. So I was quite
Yeah.
proud from just developing this little farm to those global brands that I was shortlisted against. So to be
Well
honest,
done.
that for me was a massive achievement.
I'm loving it. I'm going to pause here now for any questions. We like to make these kind of like a little bit audience driven. Anyone got any questions? You can either put it in the chat, or you can just unmute and talk if you'd like to. It's okay if you don't have any questions as well, but
Probably
if
hiding.
you
They're probably like, oh no, this is what I normally do when I sign up for these things.
yeah, sometimes I've got some other meetups and they're more interactive. So as soon as I say to everyone, right, I'm putting you in a small group, you can discuss the topic. Half the
Yeah, they're all
audience leave.
kind of decimated and think, oh no, time to leave. No,
Yeah.
no, don't worry if there's no questions.
Cool. All right. Let's see. Where should we go next? Okay, so I'm going to ask you about the future. So have you got any future strategies or plans or anything up your sleeve next? What's the
So obviously I'm now in organising this B-Corp Fest from the farm, which is trying to get other businesses on board with
Oh,
B-Corp
I didn't
because
know about that.
I'm a bit evangelical about it almost too. So I'm sort of working with so the 28th of September this month is B-Corp Fest from the farm, where we're getting other Lancashire businesses to do that.
Is there a
Plans
website
for
for
the
that or?
farm. Yeah, it's on Eventbrite. It's called B-Corp Fest. So it would be on event. Just type in B-Corp Fest, B space Corp Fest, and in Bolton, and it'll probably come up, or the Wellbeing Farm. Yeah, and also I'm tomorrow. So at the moment I'm in Felixstowe to go and speak at the sustainability conference tomorrow. But then on Thursday, there we are.
God.
And then on Thursday, I'm going to the glamping show. And I want to put some glamping pods on the farm because we are acutely short of accommodation in Edgeworth Village where I am. There's just not enough.
And glamping sustainable. Is it yurts you're
Yeah.
thinking of, or
Sorry, I think you might have gone back to
yurts?
the yeah, little sort of pods and things like this. So the B-Corp Fest is all there, and I think it says book your place. It'll go on to it. There is an Eventbrite link. I think there was another
Yeah.
kind
Got
of
it.
event.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And so people can click on that. And we've got Alan Mayhem, is the founder of Brew Gooder. Brewgooder, sorry, coming. He's one of the main speakers, but all the people are coming up from B-Corp Fest. It's going to be very much a festival style vibe. I don't want death by PowerPoint. I want kind of two speakers, which are the head of business growth of B-Corp UK and Alan Mayhem, who will talk about B-Corp, and then it'll all be divided out into zones. And there's a zone on employee, getting employees on board. There's a zone with sustainability. There's a zone with the community engagement. There's a legal zone. B-Corp are there running a zone themselves, and everybody leaves with a personalised action plan. And then we have some people, planet, pint networking from 4:30. So
I love
very
that.
interactive,
I love that brand.
friendly.
I love that.
Yeah, very friendly, kind of informal event. Did you find there's a question in there? Did you find I don't know what that I just seen it quickly and then it came off. I think it was about
sorry, in the chat. Let me have a look. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I was looking at the wrong screen. Okay,
That's all right.
It's from Alexander. I'm in a noisy office, so no point in unmuting. Quick question. Did you find B-Corp standards flexible enough and ready to accommodate the specificities of your business, or did it take some adaptation?
It's flexible. I mean, I think B-Corp were quite keen for me to become a B-Corp because I was a farm. I was in hospitality. I ticked a lot of well, they did. It was quite unusual for a farm with a butcher's and a hospitality venue to become a B-Corp, because when you think it's all about vegan these days, it's almost like if you have anything to do with meat, you're a little bit kind of, with the vegan movement.
Yeah, I understand.
There's a lot of, you have to go and they put you in these different tracks, and once you're on the right track, I never used a consultant or anyone like this to do my B-Corp. I just did it myself. But at one point I wasn't sure about what track to be on, and I submitted it, and then somebody came back to me and said, you're on the wrong track. And I was like, oh, okay. So she corrected it. And the next thing, I automatically was given 30 points. So it is good to get yourself on the right track right from the beginning. I think I made myself a bit harder for me. But, it is self-explanatory. You don't need consultant to do it. They've also produced some really good free training. If you go on B-Corp UK and the free training and do that, it's enough for you to start you off on your own B-Corp journey. There's a lot of people who've jumped on the B-Corp bandwagon and are selling their services and consultants and things. I don't personally feel you need it. B-Corp training, B-Lab UK. You see the second link. And we've developed a new training course, that one down there. It's actually very good. I've done that course. The introductory talk talks you right the way through it. Now, they're also then developing at the moment, which I'm piloting with them, an intermediate course. And these are for people who want to teach other people how to become a B-Corp, that kind of thing. And to be honest, that's a good one as well to do. But that's going to be coming out more towards the end of this year. But that introductory course is enough to get you started.
Excellent.
There we are. So he's registering
I'm just going to sign up for
you can get that. Yeah, it's good. Honestly, I find it. It's, you know what? You don't have to become a B Corp. It's all about the things that you need to have in place for a good business. But also the B Corp is, we've got this Better Business Act making its way through Parliament, of which it is B Corp. B Corp and the Better Business Act are like that. And I suppose their message is, if all companies did something to save the planet, looked after their staff and paid them well and looked after them and had some sort of wellbeing program in there, and also they did their bit for the local community. If you had every business doing that, how much better would society be? And that's where I come from. Yeah. That's where I come. I think business has a big role in this. We can't just rely. I mean, as we are seeing, you just can't leave everything up to the government now. Those days have gone. And I feel that business has a massive role to play in transforming society and things like this. And I feel, this is the start of it.
Let's talk about the government a little bit. Is there anything that you'd like the government to do to support the movement? tax
Oh my goodness! Well,
benefits or
yeah. I mean, we've got. Is it the 15th? Is it tomorrow? Where we've got this massive demonstration. I mean, I'm afraid I can't go to that because I've got my mum. She couldn't go down to London,
oh,
but
this is
I'm taking her
the
on this
business
trip with
London
me.
one. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and this big thing, I would have loved to have been that, where all these business owners are going in to queue up to, to
yeah,
do a stand. I mean, we talk about the Friends of the Earth, etc., doing their bit, but sometimes you've got to make the government listen. I was at a recent sustainability event run by Lloyd's Bank. It was high up in London. They had all these people there, and there was somebody very high up in the housing um in the housing, where he was saying that something like 30 of the biggest owners of housing companies in the UK had written to the government to say, for heaven's sake, will you change the legislation that to make it absolute law that we all have to retrofit and any new buildings need to be built with sustainability in mind, proper insulation, proper solar panels or whatever, renewables, etc. you're going to do.
yeah,
And
yeah,
they're not listening. That would be an easy thing for the government to do. They've got the power. People want it. Why do it's like the building that they're doing, going back and looking at drilling and opening coal mines and all the rest of it. Whereas we are an island surrounded by water and hydro and nuclear and wind. Surely they can be a little bit more imaginative. It's driving me mad. Honestly, I feel they're a massive block. And I feel this business by doing it business bottom up way of getting businesses on board through something like the Better Business Act is a way of just for businesses to say enough is enough. We'll just crack on and sort this society out for you.
yeah, yeah. One of the things that I'm noticing is that business generally and globally. So I work with a lot of large companies that have got lots of, are multinational.
Yeah.
That almost like from being a position where the UK was leading, say back up at COP 26 in Glasgow.
Yeah.
We seem to somehow
back.
with it's flipped the wrong way. I was reading something at the weekend around about Mervyn King coming out of retirement to blame net zero policies for inflation.
I just don't. I don't think they've got a
Crazy.
plan at all. I seriously feel that they are going, as you say, going backwards rather than forwards. And I feel, they've got. There's so many things that they could be doing, and they're just not prioritizing any of this. And it's incredibly frustrating when you're sitting there willing the government to do something, willing the government to make some legislation, and they're just not. They're just not. They're all focusing on the cost of living crisis and just doing things that may get them votes. But I think they've lost that rather than kind of just cracking on and doing the things that they actually should be doing. I feel it's very frustrating for everybody.
No, that's a good point.
I'm doing this Cambridge leadership in sustainability course at the moment, the one with the Cambridge University, and they talk a lot about all
I did see
these.
that. I did see that. Yeah.
And they give you those I mean, honestly, when you sign up for these courses and they go 12 hours a week and you think, oh yeah, I can do it in 6. Oh my goodness, it really is 12 hours. These Cambridge University doesn't give these courses away. But it's fascinating. And whereas you think the UK is doing quite well, with the COP26, as you just said, when you look at what China is doing, and I always had a perception that China was a bit of polluted and it was all China's fault. And they're really motoring ahead with some of their policies. So are India. So are a lot of these other countries that, and we're lagging. We seriously are lagging behind these almost like third world country. When I went to Peru, I've got this obsession now with traveling, but with looking at the well, no, I have this obsession with like traveling to look at the sustainability of what the countries are doing. And when you go to somewhere like Peru and see they're doing more in sustainability than we are, they've had like mini wind turbines on all these tiny little islands and for ages, and they're generating their own electricity for absolute years. And I think we can earn an awful lot and they do it for next to nothing. And they're happier, and they've got, honestly, No, I'm not a big fan of this government at the moment, I can tell you. You know.
Yeah. No, I like it. Yeah. Okay, let's have another think. What have we not talked about? We've talked about. Okay, let me talk about the entrepreneur's change curve because I spotted that on your LinkedIn. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I so let's talk about the emotional side of doing your own thing, being the leader, being the you know, having the direction, having responsibility for people, having a kind of a hard financial bottom line. Um, yeah, psychologically, how did that journey go? What are the ups and downs? What advice is in your book about how to cope with that? I guess.
Well, do you know what? I mean, for me, I mean, I get worked up quite easy. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I'm very much around. I really take it to heart kind of what people think about what I do and things like this. And I also have this ADHD, which only got diagnosed like last year, about this time last year. This was a new thing for me. I never knew much about this ADHD at all until somebody came up to me literally in the middle of a conference. They literally came up to me and said, "You've got ADHD." And I'm like, "Who are you? And what's your name? And what?" And she said, "I've read your book and you have ADHD." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness." So I had to go and get. So I think emotions and things like this, I am almost like I've had burnout like 3 times now. You know, for me, I just go and go and keep on going until almost like I hit rock bottom, and then I have to kind of build myself up and then start again, kind of thing. I bounce back. I'm very resilient, and I'm also a very early adopter. If there's something new, I will be one of the first to take that. But obviously, that comes with risk. I don't think things through very much. I just go. I mean, when I was setting up this farm, there was almost not much thought into leaving the NHS and setting up this business. I make a decision. I think that was because I've been 14 years in the health service, and you
Hmm.
are blocked by bureaucracy and not being able to make any sudden moves. And every time you had an idea, you had to put it in a business plan, then take it to a meeting, and that didn't happen. Then sometimes the meeting got cancelled, and you had to wait another month. And so when I came to do entrepreneur, I was like, oh my goodness, I've had 14 years of being blocked. I'm now going to just go for it. And I think I went for it a little bit too much. A little bit too much. If you said to me, what's your plan? I mean, I've got an MBA. I've hardly used it because I don't have a plan. If you said to me, what's your plan for the thing? I wouldn't have things have just happened. I react to things. I'm constantly scanning on what, like, for example, I'm going to America next month to study what's going on in America in the wedding industry, to bring
Gosh, yeah,
some back of the wedding
yeah,
trends
yeah.
and things like this and stuff. So I am, but being an early adopter, it does make you stand out. But I'm really happy that like we made the decision to put these prop sheds in where weddings are very wasteful. And people create all this
Hmm.
stuff, use them once and then throw them away.
Yeah.
Incredible amount of waste. So we create this concept of a prop shed where people from the wedding would put all the things into literally a shed, and then other people coming on after could reuse, and everybody keeps reusing and using. And this shed turned out to be a tiny little thing, and now it's quite a substantial, like Aladdin's cave of all sorts of stuff. But I now see more and more businesses, more and more venues creating their own prop sheds. So for me, that's like a really fantastic thing. We had this thing where my entry point into sustainability was I replaced all the bin bags with all black bags with clear bags because I wanted to know exactly what was being thrown out. And
Mm.
now we have quite a lot of people who come back to me and say,
Transparency.
yeah, we've changed all our bin bags to clear plastic bags because you can see straight away what's being recycled or rather not being recycled. Because it's a big thing with your staff. You've got to get the staff on board. You can't just do it on your own. And so there's all things like that. So I kind of quite like being early adopted, but it does come with a lot of risks.
Okay.
It comes with a lot of personal pressure on you as the owner.
Yeah. So ADHD is a superpower.
Yeah.
I'm,
Oh
a- I'm
yeah.
very bit. I'm very into my neurodiverse stuff.
Hey, that
I,
appeared on the BBC. I don't know if you saw that. How
I,
embarrassing. What
I,
underneath the Ukraine war? It was like Celia Gaze ADHD with my superpower. I don't know where they got that from. I honestly don't know.
Really, I got a
Oh,
lot of
God.
I got a lot of
Right off to the
identification.
BBC and say this.
Yeah, I got a lot of identification with that. And one of the things I find when I'm managing my ADHD is I work with people that have got other neurotypical, you know, so particularly I've got friends who have kind of a little bit more on the autistic scale,
Yeah.
and I work really well with them. And it's like because you're putting two superpowers together. Have you found this?
Mm.
Do you find someone that complements you or?
Well, do you know what? Well, no, I mean, I have started using the disc profiling, and every
Mhm.
single member of my team now are disc profiled, and I'm using all disc profiles on interviewing and recruitment. So every single person will do a disc profile, and then when they're appointed, we will then give them a very full disc profile. And all our training events are done with somebody who's disqualified to get the team balance and
Mhm.
get it
Mhm.
right and find any gaps where you are on the disc profile and things. I think that has helped. It has certainly helped me because I don't have the filter between thinking of something and speaking it. I just blurt it out, and it has got
Yep.
me in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble.
Really?
And
It's probably got you into.
yeah, well, and I also expect everybody to almost share my level of enthusiasm for anything, and so I get a bit
Yeah,
like,
me
you
too.
know,
Me
this.
too.
I think I exhaust people. I'll be honest.
Me
We
too.
like kind of this non-stop kind of tank of enthusiasm things. But I want to look for people when I'm recruiting to who actually I find that ADHD people have got this source of non-stop ideas and enthusiasm and generation, and they can do multiple things at once, and I feel that they're an incredible asset to a business. It certainly, if I saw somebody with ADHD, I'd be like, bring them in, because for me, I know you almost get two people for the price of one. They're
Yeah,
amazing.
indeed. Indeed,
That's
indeed.
where
Yeah.
I come from with it being a superpower, because there is no way that I could do what I do without having that condition. No way. I feel it fuels it.
Yeah, before we did the call, remember we were chatting and I said I do these every week and you're going like, is this your full-time job? I went, no, of course it's not. It's one of the full-time jobs I do. This
That's what I
ADHD just
mean,
lets you
though.
do 20
Yeah,
things.
yeah, and I feel like, the fact that you do this, you do a course, you're doing all this on top of it, you're doing like, I've always been one who doesn't need a lot of sleep. I really cram into my
Mm.
life and day everything I possibly can,
Hmm. Cool.
and I don't
Right,
know if all that comes with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, and I love your enthusiasm and energy and passion's going across, which yeah, which also makes you a good speaker as well.
Oh.
And it's probably and that's probably why everyone's giving you such high ratings for your book. Okay. So are there any questions before we go? Because we're coming up towards the end, and I guess Celia needs to go and find her mother in Felixstowe.
I've abandoned her somewhere in Felixstowe. She's taken a sholly, and she. I know, bless her. I know, bless her. I have to go and rescue her, find her where she's gone.
Just buy her some fish and chips. Should be fine.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's it. That's for later. We like coming here because it is. I don't know if you've ever been, but like obviously Felixstowe is one of the biggest ports in the UK.
Mm,
Everything comes
hmm
in
hmm
to Felixstowe, and the scale of those cargo ships. You don't appreciate until you see those. They've got like 250 containers on them, and then you see these cargo ships kind of all stacked up, or rather, the containers all stacked up, and you're like, no wonder I can't get my goods. With Brexit and
Yeah, yeah,
everything, and you
yeah.
really see the impact of Brexit when you see these cargo ships and how much they transport into the country. Because we've been
Sure.
like, having alcohol delayed and all these different products delayed. And one minute the chef can get this, the next minute the suppliers go, no, we can't get it anymore, and you have to adapt your recipes to come up with some alternative, etc., etc. And
Yeah.
and it's when yeah. So anyway, I like watching the cargo. So that's what I'll probably do tonight. Go watch the cargo ships while having fish and chips in the car. Sad as I am, she likes going to watch the cargo ships.
She comes from a farm in Lancashire. This is exciting.
Yeah, I know.
It's either this or watch the windmill.
Well, that's it. Yeah, kind of Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday night watching cargo ships and things. Yeah.
Oh, so just on that, the supply chain thing. So one of the things I think that as we move forward into a greener world, we will be trying to shrink our supply chains and not have as
Mm,
much,
yeah.
imports. And I suspect, we will find ways to kind of locally produce more stuff. Do you think a lot about that with your weddings? Are you sourcing locally? Is that a big
Oh,
thing, or
100%. Yeah, yeah.
yeah?
And do you know what? When I go to these exhibitor, those big trade shows now, it's brilliant because I literally go round. Are you a B-Corp? No. Okay, I'm not interested. It actually allows you to really kind of home in on the suppliers that you want to meet and and anybody else who's not that. I'm just not, because I've got my suppliers at the moment. I try and choose predominantly. I mean, when you're with a B Corp, you have, you've got to have the bulk of from products from these big companies. You can't get away with it. It's no small companies that can supply you at the volume and the
Yes.
speed and the quality from what
Yeah.
you want. Although I do get all my vegetables from an independent veg man who is incredible, and I'm very proud of using him. All our meat comes from our own local butchers, our own family
Hmm.
butchers. All the meat comes
Good.
from that. And from there, they only purchase from farmers directly. There's no middleman. So to be honest, that is really good. The cheese I produce from a cheese man as well. It's no independent. He's completely independent as well. And then
Nice.
the all the cleaning products we choose from green companies. We try and choose as many female owned companies as well, because that's being and if they've got a disability, even better, because this is what you've got to have so many suppliers from female owned and disability owned. And it does make you really think that when you are choosing suppliers, I strictly go, if you are beyond a 30-mile radius, I'm sorry, but we cannot purchase from you.
Sounds
It
really
does
good.
make you
Yeah.
home in on choosing. It makes suppliers, because you literally could purchase from anywhere. And
Yeah.
but when I did all of the farm as well, the entire farm has been created from reused, recycled, upcycled, secondhand stuff. So where possible, even we wouldn't buy a kitchen equipment secondhand, because I've had too many problems with that, and it
Mm.
doesn't last. They're getting rid of it for a reason,
For a reason. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but and same with TVs and computers. They're just not worth it. But all the desks, all the furnitures, all the fixtures and fittings, all the chairs, everything else is every single thing is secondhand. In fact, I can name everywhere any item in that farm where I got it from, and there's a story behind every single item.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
so it's nice. It's nice. So I love doing
Excellent.
that. I spend a lot of my time on Facebook Marketplace and eBay, to be honest, finding stuff. Yeah.
Gosh. Anyway, so it's very, very good. We're coming to the end now, so
Yeah.
it's been very good to catch up. It just feels like we were working together yesterday. It doesn't feel like 14 years.
I
It's
know.
kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the story. I'm thinking in my head of reasons to come down. Uh,
Ah,
yeah, I've been married
definitely.
I've been married 3 times. I'm not going to get married again, so it
You're
won't be a
not.
wedding.
Wow. God, that's good going.
I just like cake.
I always feel a bit of a culprit. I'm not even married and I'm running his wedding venue. Anyway.
Well, maybe, yeah, maybe you know something. Yeah, cool. All right. If there's no more questions, and I'm just checking the chat. If there's no more questions, thanks
No.
for coming. We'll get I'll get the video up on the website. We'll send you a link in that. But really enjoyed that. Well, let's talk again soon. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much, Scott. Enjoy the rest of your
Thank
day.
you.
Thank you.
Go
Bye.
go find your mom.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.